Hey, what's up, guys? It's Gabriel here with Natural Whetstone Sharpening, and I've got this production knife. It's not a custom, and it's got a semi-nice finish and feel to it. When I first got it, the grind work looked like it had been done very hastily, and it was concave. So it looked like a grinding wheel had just been used. And the edge was okay, wasn't great, but it went dull pretty quickly. And so what I found was that it felt really good to work on some very coarse grit man-made stones. And I did some grinding with a 220 grit Imanishi and a 400 grit Chaucera. And I took out most of those deepest gouges. And so you'll see that there's a low spot right there, but this is the type of finish that 400 grit Chaucera was giving. Again, like there's the low spot from the grinding wheel. So at this point, it's kind of just aesthetics if I want to keep polishing the flat sidewall behind the edge. But while we're talking about edges and behind the edge type finishing, I wanted to show you guys a really cool trick you can use to find the right angle when you're sharpening a knife. So if you're playing around with reprofiling and you're using coarse grit stones, I'm going to use this finer grit Indonesian stone right now as I'm talking as an example, but usually I just lay the knife totally flat and I'll sharpen, and I'm trying not to hit about that much of the edge as I go along, because I want to thin behind the edge, and then as I create the profile that comes together this way, I can slowly increase my angle and bring the edge together. Whereas if you're not sure what the angle of your knife is and you just start with trying to guess at some sort of angle like this, you'll probably mess it up. So the quick trick is when you're doing that sidewall work, just color in everything with Sharpie, and maybe don't come up into this because it's a little bit annoying to get it out of the grooves. When you want to clean it, you could use rubbing alcohol or dish soap, and you'll get it off your knife. But when it comes to just tuning up your edge, you could just put Sharpie right along the cutting edge. And that's going to help you see where you're actually hitting on your stone. So if you can't find the right angle, try marking it and seeing if you're actually touching it or not. Because oftentimes people are sharpening too steep and they don't have that harmony where the edge meets the stone. They're either too high up past it or you're too low, and you're still honing in what's kind of aesthetics, kind of performance. Like if you thin a knife out, it gets more and more slicey, but if the apex of the cutting edge is dull, it's not going to do anything for you. So I'm going to lay the knife flat to where I'm doing that behind the edge type sharpening and move back and forth. And then I'm going to check and see if I'm doing that kind of zero grind type approach, am I actually hitting the edge? And on this one, I think I'm going to be getting right behind the edge based on what I remember from the last time I was sharpening on that 400 grit stone. Okay, so you can see that the zero grind effect actually, it's about right here. And I'm going to just put a little pressure near the tip and then a little pressure down at the heel, and we'll see if I hit those spots as well. Also, as I'm doing this, I'm keeping my elbow tucked into my body, and I'm rotating my wrist this way ever so slightly, and that lets me keep it flat or add a slight bit of lift and torque. So when I rotate my elbow in, I'm lifting up maybe a millimeter. I'm not sure if it's a millimeter, but it's a very, very small amount. And if I'm tipping back down, it's just a very subtle flex this way. Very, very subtle. I'm not flexing too hard. I'm just controlling my angle with keeping my arm very level, and then I'm controlling which part of the knife I'm touching with my fingers. And I'll give a gentle bit of pushing as I go away and then light pressure as I come back, or the opposite. But in general, don't push hard in both directions because it makes it harder to control your pressure. So I can just use little motions like this, and I'm just giving it a little bit of pressure as I go away, and then light pressure as I come back, and I'm trying to stay on the same angle. I'm keeping it mostly flat, just giving it a tiny bit of lift. A general rule of thumb is nothing's straight, nothing's flat when it comes to knife edges until you ground them in to where you want them. And even then, there's still a bit of rock. So now we have just a bit of Sharpie up here that I haven't hit yet, and just a little bit down here at the heel. And if I can't hit that while I'm holding it flat like this, I give it just that little tiny bit of lift. And then same for the tip. And as your stone and slurry pulverizes the marker, it'll just come right off. And it'll stay on while you get it wet. So not super hard to remove, but pretty handy tool for finding the right angle. And then as you're learning your hand control, I like switching hands and just doing that same motion. I can make really small movements like this and control the work that I'm doing with my blade. Now this is a bit of a jump, so I'm not going to clean up every single scratch in the sidewall because this is around an 8,000, maybe a little bit higher grit stone, but that 400 grit edge set me up with a bevel. You can also try sharpening in segments like this, and for some reason, for me, it's just easier to go away from myself. I find if I'm over here and I'm trying to get the right angle coming back, I don't keep my angle as consistent. So just right here, I can float across the surface of the stone, just like I'm just shaving a little bit off the top. And you know, some people also, they go at this angle and then at this angle. So if you're trying to find the right angle and it's easier for you to go like this, you can keep it all on your dominant hand, but then your scratches go one way on one side and one way on the other. So for aesthetic reasons, I've just learned how to do it with both hands. And actually, I've gotten pretty accurate with practice. So that's some tips on finding the right knife angle. And it's really determined by the thickness of the grind too. So for some knives, you might have 2 pennies of thickness. Some might have 3. For Western grind knives, the angle is usually a little steeper. Same with German knives. Japanese knives, the angle is usually a little lower. But just try that trick where you put Sharpie behind the edge and you wipe it all away, and that'll show you about where you're at. And if when you're doing that zero grind kind of a technique, you start to hit the edge, you can decide if you want to make it subtly convex. So you just sharpen behind it and then slight lift, and then to blend the two, you can just make a little bit of an adjustment. But I don't want to come up so steep that I break my edge off. So just play with it, try marking your work. And then if you're struggling to see if you got it sharp or not, you can try cutting a piece of paper. You could just gently touch it with your fingers. I keep my thumb on the back, and I'm just feeling for if that burr is gotten knocked off and my edge is getting finer. And when your knife's totally dull, you're just feeling for, you may have the burr first on one side and you may have to do more work on the other side to get your burr. So I hope that quick demo helps you guys. And also, here in 2025, in the month of October, we are doing a giveaway for the bench-sized sharpening stones on Natural Whetstone Sharpening /wildwhetstones.com, wildwhetstones.com, or naturalwhetstonesharpening.com. Both take you to our website. And every order placed this month gives you one free entry. We're doing 20% off. So use the discount code SHARP20 with no space in it at checkout. And also, if you want additional free entries, come check out our Facebook community group, Wild Whetstones, Natural Whetstone Sharpening Community. We're over 9,000 members strong at this point, and we're giving extra entry spots just for coming to the group and finding the giveaway post with the pictures of the stones in it, and sharing the post and subscribing to the YouTube channel, and then just commenting, I'm in. And we're going to give away several bench stones. Right now we only have about 20 or 30 people entered, so come join. Your odds of winning one are very, very high. All right, guys, see you in the next video. Hope that little tip on finding the right knife angle when sharpening helps, and you guys stay sharp. I'll see you in the next video.